Ferrari is about to lose up to half a second per lap from a system they invented. A hidden advantage so powerful, 7 teams copied it in just 3 races. And now, the FIA has officially stepped in to cut it. Not because it was illegal at first, but because it became too effective to ignore. Here's the shocking part. This wasn't just extra performance. This was the system that kept Ferrari competitive. The one thing masking their biggest weakness. And the moment it disappears, that weakness comes back instantly. Leclerc feels it. Hamilton feels it. Because when the rear of the car loses stability, everything collapses. So this isn't just a regulation change. This is a full exposure. And now the real question is simple. What happens when the team that built the most powerful idea on the grid is forced to race without it? To understand why Ferrari is in serious trouble, you have to look at what this system was really doing, because it wasn't just making them faster. It was protecting them. Because if you strip everything down, Ferrari's car had a very clear weakness: straight line speed. Their engine, compared to rivals, simply wasn't the strongest. And that meant one thing. They had to find lap time somewhere else. That somewhere else was the rear of the car. High-speed corners, stability under load, the ability to carry more speed where others had to lift. And this is exactly where the blown exhaust concept changed everything. Hot gases, leaving the engine at extreme temperatures, were redirected with precision toward the rear wing and diffuser. That increased airflow speed, lowered pressure underneath the car, and created downforce without relying on traditional aerodynamic surfaces. The result? More grip in fast corners, more stability at the rear, more confidence for the driver to push harder, earlier, and longer. And the gain was massive, between 4 and 5 tenths per lap. That's not just an improvement. That's the kind of number that changes your position on the grid completely. But here's the key detail. That performance didn't just make Ferrari fast. It balanced their weaknesses. They lost time on the straights, but gained it back in the corners. It was a perfect trade. Until now. Because the moment the FIA cuts this system, that balance disappears. And suddenly, Ferrari is left exposed. They're no longer gaining enough in the corners, and they're still losing on the straights. And that creates the worst possible scenario in Formula One. A car that is not dominant anywhere. Not the fastest in high-speed sections. Not the strongest in straight-line performance. Just vulnerable. But here's where it becomes even more critical. Because Ferrari didn't treat this system as an add-on. They built their entire aerodynamic philosophy around it. According to the technical report, major updates to the floor, diffuser, rear suspension, and rear wing were all designed to work together with this concept. So when this gets cut, it's not a small adjustment. It's a structural loss. And that creates a domino effect. The rear becomes less stable. The airflow becomes less predictable. The car becomes harder to drive at the limit. And that's where drivers feel it instantly. Leclerc, Hamilton. Because at this level, driving isn't about reacting. It's about trust. You commit to a corner before you even reach it. You rely on the car to hold. And when that trust is gone, even slightly, you hesitate. And that hesitation costs time. Every lap. But here's the part that makes this even more dangerous. Because this isn't happening alone. At the same time, the sport is shifting toward a new engine balance. More importance on combustion power. Less reliance on electric systems. Which means straight-line speed becomes even more critical. And that's exactly where Ferrari is already behind. So now combine both problems. Less aerodynamic advantage. Same engine deficit. And the result is clear. Ferrari risks becoming a team that is not leading in any area. And in Formula One, that's the fastest way to fall behind. But this is where the story starts to open up again. Because when one advantage disappears, teams don't stop. They adapt. They search. They innovate. And Ferrari has done that before. They created this system when nobody else saw it. They forced the entire grid to follow. So now the question becomes inevitable. Can they do it again? Because if they can, this moment becomes a reset. But if they can't, then this isn't just a loss of performance. It's the beginning of a much bigger problem. And that's exactly why, right now, Ferrari isn't just under pressure. They're running out of time. And this is where the situation turns critical. Because now Ferrari is not just losing performance. They're losing time. And in Formula One, time is everything. Because while Ferrari is trying to understand what they've lost, other teams already understand what they've gained. Think about it. Teams that didn't depend as heavily on this system don't have to rebuild anything. They don't have to rethink their entire concept. They just adjust. Small changes, minor tweaks, and they keep moving forward. But Ferrari can't do that. Ferrari has to stop and rethink the entire rear of the car. The airflow, the balance, the way the car generates grip, everything. And that process takes time. Wind tunnel runs, simulation cycles, track correlation, mistakes, corrections. And while all of that is happening, the rest of the grid keeps improving. That's how gaps are created in Formula One. Not in one moment, but in many small ones. But here's where the pressure becomes even more intense. Because Ferrari isn't just chasing performance, they're chasing stability. Because when the rear of the car becomes unpredictable, drivers stop pushing, not consciously, but instinctively. They protect the car. They avoid the limit. And that's where lap time disappears. Quietly, consistently. And that's exactly what Leclerc and Hamilton are dealing with right now. Because when you lose rear confidence, you lose the ability to attack corners. You brake earlier. You delay throttle. You lose that final edge that separates great drivers from unstoppable ones. But here's the twist that changes everything. Because this moment also creates an opportunity. Not just for Ferrari, for everyone else. Because if Ferrari needs time to recover, even a few races, that window becomes a target. McLaren sees it. Mercedes sees it. Red Bull definitely sees it. And in Formula One, when a top team shows weakness, the others don't wait. They attack because they know something very important. Opportunities like this don't last long, but they decide championships. And that's why this moment feels so dangerous for Ferrari. Because it's not just about how much they lose. It's about when they lose it. If the performance drop happens immediately, they become vulnerable immediately. If the adaptation takes too long, the gap grows. And once that gap is established, closing it becomes one of the hardest challenges in the sport. But here's the final layer, the one that connects everything. Because Ferrari is now entering the most difficult phase any top team can face. The unknown. They no longer have a clear direction. They no longer have a proven advantage. They're searching, experimenting, trying to find the next idea. And that's where Formula One becomes unpredictable. Because sometimes the next idea arrives quickly, and everything changes again. But sometimes, it doesn't. And when that happens, teams fall behind. Not because they lack talent, but because they ran out of time. So now everything comes down to one final question. Not about the FIA, not about the ban, but about Ferrari itself. When you lose the idea that made you competitive, do you hesitate? Or do you create the next breakthrough before everyone else pulls away? And this is where everything reaches its breaking point, because Ferrari is no longer in control of the situation. They're reacting. And in Formula One, the moment you start reacting, you've already lost the initiative. Because while Ferrari is trying to rebuild, other teams are already building on top of what they have. McLaren keeps refining a balanced car. Mercedes keeps pushing straight-line efficiency. Red Bull keeps evolving faster than anyone else when rules change. And Ferrari? Ferrari is searching. And searching is dangerous, because it means uncertainty. It means trial and error. It means solutions that might not work the first time. And every failed idea costs time. But here's where the pressure becomes unbearable. Because this isn't just about catching up. It's about not falling out of contention completely. Because once you drop behind in Formula One, the gap doesn't stay stable. It grows. Aerodynamics build on aerodynamics. Performance builds on performance. Confidence builds on results. And Ferrari risks losing all three at the same time. But here's the twist that defines everything. Because sometimes the teams under the most pressure create the most dangerous solutions. Because they have no choice. They take risks. They try ideas others wouldn't dare to attempt. And that's exactly how Ferrari found this concept in the first place. They saw something no one else saw. They exploited something no one else understood. They changed the grid. So now, history is repeating itself. But with one major difference. This time, everyone is watching. Everyone is ready. Everyone is waiting to copy the next thing Ferrari does. Which means even if Ferrari finds something new, the advantage won't last as long. And that makes this challenge even harder. Because it's not just about finding speed. It's about finding it and protecting it. But here's the final reality. Because this moment doesn't just test Ferrari's engineers. It tests the entire team. The leadership, the decision-making, the ability to stay calm under pressure. Because when everything starts to fall apart, that's when mistakes happen. Wrong development paths, delayed upgrades, misjudged priorities. And those mistakes are what turn a difficult season into a lost one. So now everything comes down to one final truth. Ferrari doesn't just need a solution. They need the right solution immediately, because every race without it is a race where someone else takes control. And once that control is gone, getting it back is one of the hardest things in Formula One. So this isn't just a technical problem anymore. It's a survival test. Because when the advantage that defined your car disappears, you don't get time to recover. You either respond fast, or you watch the season slip away, one race at a time. And this is where everything finally comes together. Because the real danger for Ferrari isn't just losing performance. It's losing control of the future. Because right now, while everyone is focused on this ban, something much bigger is happening behind the scenes. The direction of Formula One is changing. Less extreme aerodynamics, more dependence on combustion power, less room for concepts like the one Ferrari created. And that means one thing. The very philosophy Ferrari built their car around is becoming less relevant. Not just today, but moving forward. Because according to the full technical outlook, this isn't just about removing one system. It's part of a much larger shift, reducing overall downforce, limiting extreme aerodynamic gains, and forcing teams into a completely different design path. And that's where the real problem appears. Because Ferrari wasn't just strong in aerodynamics. They were dependent on it. Their advantage came from high-speed corner performance, from generating more downforce than rivals, from extracting grip where others couldn't. Now that entire advantage is being reduced. At the same time, their engine deficit remains. And when you combine those two factors, you get the worst possible scenario. A team that loses its strength without fixing its weakness. Exactly the situation Ferrari feared the most. But here's where everything becomes even more intense. Because this isn't just about performance. It's about timing. Because these changes aren't happening slowly. They're happening while teams are already developing the next generation of cars. Which means one thing. The decisions Ferrari makes right now don't just affect this season. They define the next era. If they choose the wrong direction now, they don't just lose races. They lose years. But here's the twist that changes everything. Because this kind of pressure forces clarity. It removes hesitation. It forces teams to commit. And the teams that commit correctly win. Because in Formula One, the biggest advantage isn't always speed. It's direction. Knowing where the sport is going before everyone else does. And right now, that direction is clear. Less reliance on extreme aero. More importance on efficiency. More importance on power delivery. And Ferrari has to adapt to that immediately. But adapting isn't enough. They need to get ahead of it.